Well, I have to say we're missing instinct, so I'm hoping that we keep our human instinct, especially with debates on AI and so on, which are becoming quite a hot topic these days. So I think in a way we need to be grounded, or what I call earth. It's like the electrical cables in your plug. You've got to stay earthed in some way without being old, because there's a lot of prehistory which is incredibly advanced. So we need to understand what's deep in all of us, deep in all of our DNA, and not lose that. I like the idea of mass individualism more than this complete homogeneous soup of humanity where wherever you go in the world there's a Prada shop that looks the same way. I think that cultural nuance is something that have always interested me, and that's why I've worked globally. It's because I learn and I become educated as to those subtle differences that exist. I think it's very powerful. Well, it's interesting when you talk about fashion, because fashion really is so self-referential, partly because it's based on the human body and that doesn't change so much. So it's easy to be different and stupid, but very difficult to be different and kind of relevant in whatever that debate is. There are other fields that I work in where material exploration and innovation in technology is natural, it's ubiquitous, it's fundamental, and I don't see it so much in fashion. I'm not saying that we should all go around in a prescriptive sort of skydiving suit, you know, but I think at the same time we need to be aware that there needs to be other ways of evolving. You know, fashion, when you say fashion, everybody has this image of clothes. But maybe if you said fashion, wouldn't it be interesting if that's a philosophy of life, not just a physical condition, as in design? It'd be wonderful if design was more a philosophical position as to how life is, how it's interrelated, the needs of humanity. And remember that fashion is a huge resource drawdown, and because it's 6 months and it's disposable, there's a lot that's being thrown away. So it has to lead in issues relating to resources also. And I think it would be more loved, I mean, fundamentally. What happens in, I would say, German design generally is that there's the very clear, industrial, sterile, mechanical, which is fine because that's a kind of processing. But then there's this really avant-garde side, I think, which is fueled from the art scene more than anything. I mean, you see it in a dialogue between I mean, BMW as a car company is doing incredible things right now. I went to their talk last week in London. Whoa. And you know, physicality of objects, or the work of Konstantin Gricic is really, it's got art in it, and I think this is what should be promoted. And I think because of Berlin becoming such an important hub, especially now that London has had it, yeah, I go for it. I mean, you need both. You need the discipline and then you need the freedom. So it's really a balance. And for me, personally, I'm interested in the tactile and the physical. I'm interested in the reality, I'm interested in the actual reality. So if everything that we access is online, I mean, I'm working on VR goggles at the moment, and I know that this area will become very, very powerful. But I'm hoping at the same time it doesn't create a level of detachment, because it's really a beautiful physical world. When astronauts came back, or there was one of the astronauts came back, I think his name was Mitchell, came back from space, the first thing he did was go to a shopping center. And they interviewed him. They said, are you mad? He said, no. He said, I can drink a coffee and it doesn't float away. I can read my Zeitung and it stays. He said, I can breathe the air. He says, man, this is one of the best experiences you could ever have. So I don't want to sound like I'm pulling us back, but I think there needs to be always a very solid dialogue between the virtual and the actual. Clothes, which is what fashion is a beautiful physical domain.